Nobody understands Bitcoin like he does. Nobody has his conviction. He not only buys it and keeps it on his balance sheet, but he borrows money at great rates. He's way smarter than most market participants, so he gets super dirt cheap debt and buys more Bitcoin.
The darker view is that the excess manipulation of money blows up the entire system. And that's a lot of people hold that view, that you end up with a hyperinflation or something of that sort, a total economic collapse. But I struggle to get to that answer because in every circumstance, when asset prices collapse or something goes wrong, they just print money.
I'm more excited about Microstrategy than I am about any of the ETFs. And I'll tell you why, for a couple of reasons. One is the ETFs have a management fee and Microstrategy has no management fee. Two is I would argue that Michael Saylor is the greatest ETF manager in the history of ETF managers, especially for Bitcoin, right? Nobody understands Bitcoin like he does. Nobody has his conviction. He not only buys it and keeps it on his balance sheet, but he borrows money at great rates. He's way smarter than most market participants, so he gets super dirt cheap debt and buys more Bitcoin. So it's like a leveraged way to play Bitcoin. When his MicroStrategy shares get too expensive relative to underlying Bitcoin, then he creates more shares, gets more cash in, buys more Bitcoin. He's like and I said this in a tweet like a month ago or so. It kind of offended some people, but I think he's like the Warren Buffett of Bitcoin. And I'm talking about old school Warren Buffett. So back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, when he was just this stud, hedge fund manager turned Berkshire Hathaway dude, he knows when to sell shares. He knows when to buy things cheap. He knows how to get 50% CAGR kind of returns in the old fiat market. I think that's how Saylor is. He's super smart. He's smarter than almost anybody he's sitting across the desk from. He's fully all into Bitcoin. He's a billionaire and literally doesn't care, right? He's never going to sell his Bitcoin. In fact, I think he's said this before, and I believe him. He's going to die and not tell anybody his keys, his seed phrase, and he's taking Bitcoin with him, and that's going to be his donation to the world, and he believes that. Like, he's going to be seen as the ultimate philanthropist, second only to Satoshi Nakamoto. So you can have him running your ETF, or you can have BlackRock, who's just, they don't really get it, but they just want to get in on the game and make some money, or ARK, or whoever, choose your people, Fidelity. And I'm not hating on them, and that's an okay thing for other people to do. But if you must buy some sort of fund in a brokerage account, I still think MicroStrategy is the best way to go. And then I just feel like this needs to be said because we're on a Bitcoin show. It's way better for Bitcoiners to simply buy real Bitcoin and take it off exchanges and put it into cold storage. You shouldn't be buying ETFs. I don't think. You can do what you want, right? It's a free country. But the whole point of Bitcoin is it's permissionless. You can be your own bank. It's decentralized. You can send it wherever you want to send it. If you have it in an ETF, it's not permissionless. It's an IOU. It's not real Bitcoin. So just be cognizant of the risks that come from owning an ETF relative to owning Bitcoin itself.
So when you debase a currency, it doesn't let wages go up or even corporate earnings go up. It makes asset prices go up. So those who can afford assets outperform or at least protect their wealth. Everybody else who earns wages and doesn't have much assets, they get their future self. An asset is your ability to put money in now and take it out later. It's future deferred consumption. If you can't buy assets, your future self is getting poorer. That's why we have a pension system. That's why people buy real estate. That's why they buy gold. All of these things. So what they're doing by debasing the currency by whatever the number is, 15% a year, is they are mutualizing the costs of servicing the debt. But it's mutualizing it across the poorer people, which is what makes everybody so angry. Because they don't understand this card trick that's being played on them. It's the same as raising taxes on them all, but they don't realize. They just know that something's not right. Why do my wages not really go up, but everything else goes up around me? Why can't I afford a house and my parents could afford a house? Why could my parents have a larger percentage in their 401k and I can't. It's because of this. And that's what the central banks are doing. The destruction of the American dream has come from that real wages haven't really ever gone up. That's the dirty secret. Nobody really got richer. And everybody financed consumption via debt, which made their future selves poorer as well. And so that's been a real problem for people. So then you say, okay, the millennial cohort, what do they do about it? And I did that piece, that famous YouTube video called The Retirement Crisis, where I said, well, if you're a millennial, you have basically one choice, which was crypto. And that's why crypto has resonated so well for people, because they can see a way out. But it's hard because it's very volatile too. But that's why it's kind of gripped the younger people, as have technology stocks. That's why people love Tesla. It might produce amazing cars, but it also has produced amazing performance for people. And people need that because there's no other way. 2008, every major government in the world of a developed economy hit 100% of GDP in debt. So, okay, and interest rates, let's say 5-year interest rates where they generally finance themselves, have averaged around 2% or less. But so is economic growth. So if you think of GDP as all of the money circulating around to pay for the debt, there's no more money left over. But the problem is the private sector is over 100% of GDP in debt in every major country. So who pays for that debt? So that's when they started shoving the interest payment debt onto the balance sheets, because the world basically hit the tipping point in 2008, and people still haven't worked this out. But I think I was the first person, and still maybe the only person, who's gone back and calculated all of the interest payments and realized that they are, and the balance sheet growth, and realized that they are just 3.5 years apart. It's the same chart. They just keep monetizing it. And that's the way that they see out of the debt, is to mutualize those payments across everybody by increasing the balance sheet. But the debt doesn't go away because GDP is not growing fast enough. So you have to change the GDP formula. If not, you're in this endless trap where you're printing more and more money, making the rich richer, the poor poorer, ad infinitum. And I think that for individuals, as I said, there's only 2 assets that outperform this. That's technology and that's crypto. Okay, fine. The economy, that's really hard to get this to sort itself out. People are waiting for a collapse, the market's down 80%. It can't. The reason it can't is the central bank debased the currency and it makes the stock market go up optically, because they can't allow the collateral of the system to go bust. So they don't allow the system to go bust, and it creates this ongoing problem. But if you listen to the narratives from the central banks and the governments, what they're really saying is the whole green energy revolution. Europe is massively funding this. And yes, it's good for the planet. Yes, it's good for a number of things. But really what they're trying to do is lower the cost of electricity. Because if you lower the cost of electricity, it has this multiplier effect on productivity. And that's how you can grow GDP growth. The other thing is population. Well, we're shrinking populations, as I said, so we have to replace people. So look at Amazon warehouses. The growth is not in people, the growth is in the robots. The robots work 24/7, 365, they never complain, and they cost a fraction of a human. So every company is incentivized to employ robots to do jobs instead of humans. Then this year we had the nuclear bomb of deflation, which is human knowledge, lawyers, doctors, accountants, creative artists, developers, everybody, and they're replaceable via the infinite knowledge machine that is AI. So that's scary for us as individuals. But if population growth is a large part of the components of GDP growth, you can create infinite people.